Hey, what's going on, subscribers? Well, as you can see, we are working on the Vermont SportCar build. And I've already thrown on and chopped off the foam already. I did some more adding and whatnot, and then talking with Aaron, the owner, my buddy. So now we've come to the realization that I need to actually add a little bit more foam here. So this actually transitions up in here. And then I actually added more foam on the face here so that I could actually get this beveled OEM lip that's supposed to be here. There's supposed to be a hard line here that actually comes down and morphs down into the dog leg here. So with that said, I was cutting it wrong. I was going with the wrong quarter panel. So I was looking at the wrong picture, and there are two different styles, two different cars. I've been talking with Vermont SportCar, one of the employees, one of the guys up there, and he's been giving me a lot of information. So this has really been helping me a lot. So now, today, I'm going to add a little bit of foam, but before I do so, I'm going to go ahead and carve this to my best ability to the actual shape that's needed, and then throw in the foam, because foam takes a little bit to actually set up and dry. So I'd rather do some carving now, because I can't even touch it if there's some foam on there that's activated and wet, So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to jump on that. I'm going to start carving and get this in the general shape so that it basically looks like this. And this is what we're looking for. This is the shape that we're looking for. That is, to me, is the most cleanest look, a lot better than what I was doing in the last upload. So I like it. It actually mimics the front fender a lot better. You can see it does have that lip here and that hard line. So we're going to go ahead and recreate, because those fenders there are the same to match the rear quarters that I just showed you. So with that said, without talking your head off, stay tuned. All right, as you can see, I put some tape on here for a nice hard line so that I am able to have that contoured shape. Pull that off now. And now you can see that the foam is carved out. We've got that nice OEM line, that OEM face here, and then it starts to bevel in. Got a nice little shelf. Looks pretty good. It actually does look like the OEM quarter panel that we are trying to replicate, and then it carries out and then goes with the OEM line. Kind of pokes out from this area here. It'll accentuate out from this line off of this pocket, and it'll come off. So we'll do a little bit more carving, a little bit more shaping, but for now I've got to put some more foam in this area so I can fill this up and start to bevel this into this area here. That way I can actually create this pocket extension, because that's all got to get extended out. And it should look pretty good. As you can see, I had it all kind of like curved like this, going with that line. And that was the other quarter panel design. This one actually mimics the front fender a lot better. So you can get a better idea. It's more OEM, so I still got a little bit more carving to do, but you get the idea. Once we start actually putting some fiberglass on this, it'll really stamp out apart really nicely. Of course, I'm going to have to smooth out all of this foam first before I can lay anything on it, because it's just going to fall into all the voids. And when I pop it off, that's what it'll look like. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and add some foam now. All right, I got some more spray foam put on, and I'm just waiting for it to set up. You can see it right there falling on the ground. What I do is I actually will spray it on any access that wants to kind of like cascade and fall down like a like a waterfall. Just take, you see here in the garbage can here, you can see if I can do it without touching it. You see all the edges, how it's wet. You want to use it like a knife and just kind of cut the wetness off and just shave what you don't need. It's really easy. And then just let it kind of set up, because if there's anything hanging off of this edge here, it's going to want to pull this foam away and then just fall right down on the ground. But as you can see, it's actually sitting still now. So it was moving, it was doing the whole pulling and drawing and whatnot, and that's exactly what will happen. So it's a nice little tip and trick for you. If you're looking to spray some foam and whatnot, cut off the access. If you don't need it, there's no reason to even keep it there. So we've already got the general shape here. So we just left a little bit of access that I can trim into. Should be pretty easy. So you can see like right here, this is what it looks like when you spray it, and then what it looks like when it falls on the floor. Splat. So there you go. All right, well, I need a break on that. So now I've got everything all bagged up, put the wheels on. So if I need to lower it, I can see what needs to be notched and cut. Because my main concern right now is getting the wheel fitment done and getting this liner made, and really starting to attack this Twiltex. I want to get a lot of body work done today. Basically strip this thing down and get her ready so that basically we can get further along. The more that I body work and the more that I get done as far as those steps, etc., as far as taking this thing apart and getting everything flat like the steel next to it, the further along I'll be. So that's basically where I'm going to be. I'm going to rip these headlights out. I already know that they fit good. I know that all I'm going to have to do is make a bracket for this here. I mean, obviously that is just literally sitting there. So that's going to be a very easy process. I'm not worried about that. All the body work can be done. I've already done all of the plastic repair so that it fits up really nice around the headlights. I'm really happy with that. So now it's time to attack this Twiltex. And yeah, Vermont SportsCar says that this is a very difficult process, and they've explained to me how to do this. And so I'm going to go ahead and, basically we go first, and it's exactly the same way that I was going to do it. So I'm happy with that. There's just a little bit of extra steps that I'm going to go ahead and enable in the process so that the body work is perfect. For them, they don't want it perfect. It's just a race car. So they're just trying to get it painted. I want it perfect. I don't want to see this Twiltex later, especially when the UV rays hit it. And it soaks. It's going to soak no matter what, obviously, but at least I can do is further the process of allowing that not to happen by going the extra steps and doing my best to try and get this to where that weave doesn't come back out. You can see all the top surfaces I've already milled down, and just to see if I can get an idea if I can flatten this Twiltex. And from what I understand, paint, products, etc. do not stick to it. It's pretty shiny. Obviously, there's no primer on it, so we're going to have to try and get some kind of primer accumulated on here so that we can actually see the lines on this and then start body working the lines. You can see I've already flattened a lot of the top here, and there are a lot of low spots that the sandpaper didn't even touch. So it's going to be a lot of work, so I might as well jump on that now. I really need a break, and I've been dying to work on this Twiltex, so today is going to be the day that I do so. I do want to kind of reiterate that this has been quite the process, having to make everything fit. These wheels are freaking huge. I've got them covered up right now, but they are just monstrous. I mean, obviously the suspension is hanging, so when the tire goes up, once it hits the bottom and it gets the weight on the suspension, there's really like no wheel gap at all, and the clearance is super tight. I mean, look how close this is to that bumper. I've had to trim quite a bit off just to get it to clear when it turns, and so we're not scrubbing. It's been really quite the process, except and especially the back, etc. We don't want it rubbing, and it's really, really, really close. I make tub kits. Everybody knows that, for the sheer reason that you put big boys like this on your car, it's going to hit that inner wheel tub. Well, this is extremely close. Got lucky because the offset is so far out and so aggressive that I can actually, on full steering lock, I can barely fit the width of my fingers in there, and slide them in. Obviously, I'm still touching the tire on this outside here and then rubbing my outside of my hand on the steel, but I could fit my fingers in there. So I mean, obviously, nobody ever really turns full lock unless you're an idiot. So, he's not going to be doing that. But he's got a little bit of clearance. Thank goodness it has such an aggressive offset to it. And it really fits perfectly with the actual, fitment of these fenders, which is awesome. But it has been a job and a half. I mean, these things weigh a ton. And then having to put all 4 of them on here just so I could lower the car, and then, so I can get the suspension where it's going to sit, just so I could turn the wheel back and forth to see if it rubs. And if it does rub, obviously, you're going to have to go back in there and trim it. I can't get any tools in there with the wheel still on there, so guess what I got to do? I got to take the wheel back off. That means all the lug nuts have to come back off. That heavy beast has got to be set off to the side. I have to do it meticulously because this is over $3,000 for this wheel set, and I'm using it for the fitment of this kit because this is the wheel set it needs to be on it. I can't fit it with any other wheel set. This is the one it's going to run. So, and obviously, guys, they don't run big boys like this on rally cars. That's just nonsense. This is going to be a street beast, and that's the intention of this car. It's going to attack the roads. I really can't reiterate how much of a process this has been, So with that said, let's just jump into a time lapse and let's tear this thing down and see how far we can get with some body work today. And then we'll throw it back together and jump back on the wheel fitment again, because again, I still got to make some wheel liners.
You got the devil in your eyes. You went and took me by surprise. Say what you wanna say, I won't go back. If you wanna hit the road, then let's go then. Let's just go and see the world and just show them what it really means to live life golden. Yeah, we're golden, baby girl, we're golden. They're about to see us shine, cause we're golden. They can't ever break us down, cause we're golden. They're about to see us glow, cause we're golden. Yeah, we're golden, baby girl, we're golden. They're about to see us shine, cause we're golden. They can't ever break us down, cause we're golden. They're about to see us glow, cause we're golden. Got the devil in your eyes. You went and took me by surprise. Say what you wanna say, I won't go back. If you wanna hit the road, then let's go then. Let's just go and see the world and just show them what it really means to live life golden. Yeah, we're golden, baby girl, we're golden. They're about to see us shine, cause we're golden. They can't ever break us down, cause we're golden. They're about to see us glow, cause we're golden. Yeah, we're golden, baby girl, we're golden. They're about to see us shine, cause we're golden. They can't ever break us down, cause we're golden. They're about to see us glow, cause we're golden.
All right, so I got all this all decked out. Everything's all flat. I've got it as flat as I can. I mean, you still see there's a lot of shiny spots that are in between all the weaves and whatnot that I can't get to because I'm into the twill already, and I don't want to go any further than that. We're going to go ahead and start building. If I start taking away from any mill thickness of this, it's going to take away the rigidity, and I don't want it to all show, fiber up on me if I start sanding into it. So we're going to go ahead and basically we are as far as we can go with this. It's now time to pull this fender off. I've got to do all the edges and do all the parts that I couldn't reach with the DA, etc. The reason for leaving it on the car is because it's stationary. It's held in place. It's a lot easier to sand this thing when it's already bolted to the car. It won't move. It's sitting there versus if I put it on a stand and I start sanding on this, it moves. This thing is weightless. They don't weigh anything. So if I just little bit, so I can't really put pressure on this on a DA and start sanding this thing. You see this thing, that's just me moving it around a little bit. So you get an idea. It's a lot easier when it's on the car to actually do sanding and whatnot. So that's the reason why I did it. So we're going to go ahead and start pulling this thing apart. Get that off. Of course, I'm going to have to put it back on after I get it all primed and then dry fit it, get all the gaps back again. But again, reiterating how long this takes to do processes like this. And also while I'm in here, and I got the bumper off, which is really nice because we can see underneath here. One of the main things that I had to do was I had to move this washer bottle reservoir forward a lot. It generally will sit in this area. It was basically right here is where the OEM placement of it is. And the wheel, of course, turned into it. It was a huge problem, huge debacle. I couldn't figure out what the heck to do. And I was able to basically move it up here. I'm going to go ahead and drill a hole into the side of the frame here. Then I'll put a riv nut in there, and that way I can actually put some hardware in here. I've got it zip tied to the actual bezel for the for the fender bracket here. And I'm just going to make like a nice little bracket that'll come off, nice little L bracket with a stud. And then I could throw a little nut on here, and that will be stationary. But I've actually got it to where it flexes perfectly. This normally came down over here, but with just enough, I was able to put it in front of this bracket and then move it forward. It's kind of sitting there. It does want to fly back a little bit, but sitting on here, it's a little bit of pressure. It's really not too bad, and it's pretty stationary, pretty rigid, and it still goes up to the OEM placement. I'm really happy with myself. I'm really surprised I was able to achieve that without doing a tub, because I was really scared. I was going to have to tell him that he was going to have to do tubs because these wheels are not going to fit, and there's nothing much I could do about it. Again, I still got to get into the wheel liner. I'm trying to make it a one piece, or as best as possible. We do have to encase the fender liner. We do have to get that all done because this is going to be a street-driven car, and it would just destroy everything. It would throw crap all up inside here, and the car would not last. And yeah, we live in New York State. Cars don't last here, period. Anyways, just doesn't matter. It is what it is. You're going to get rust in places that you don't think you're going to get rust, and then before you know it, in a year or two, that part doesn't even exist anymore. So what do? It's going to start rotting, so that started. You can see that eventually this whole radiator support will rot away. There's nothing much you can do about it. You get to it and you get to it. Again, it's time. Time is always money. Money is always time. So I'm going to go ahead and continue with this. I stopped the time lapse so that I could explain where I am. And then now I'm going to go ahead and set up with a new camera angle and start sanding some more, and then I'll get these fenders off. lots and lots of work. Got all the dings, got all the pings, got all the bodywork done for the hood. That's all ready for primer. Got all of the chips completely sanded down to metal and steel and got them all sanded out, and then went around and blocked everything out with 180 grit so it's nice and flat, you know, because we knew that we didn't have any dimples, and I didn't want to have dimples where all the steel were, you know, just divoting all that down. This is a low spot now by taking out and sanding out that metal until that rust disappeared. That's basically what has happened here. You know, it has to be repaired this way. It's the only way to do it. You have to remove the material. You have to get rid of it in order to actually get rid of the rust. You can't just sand it out and prime it and hope that it's going to not come back. Sometimes you can get away with that. In most instances, no, you can't. But I don't even try to attempt it. Got all the fenders done. Hood's done. The only thing that I do need to do is jump back on the bumper. I ended up working on it, and the bumper has got a lot that needs to be, like, look at the edges. See, it looks like a tire track on there. Now, it's hard to see it in, you know, the camera, but I mean, you can see it in the camera, but you can't really tell how deep that is and how much I have to sand to get this to be flat, just like this. And you're like, this is nice. This is really nice. And it took freaking forever. So I was like, man, this is really kicking my butt. I want to at least get all of the body work done today so I can at least get this front end primed. And that was really the goal today, was to get that ready for primer. But it's like 8:30 at night. And you can see we're like ready to go home. Ready. You know, it's time to lock up. So I think we're going to go ahead and come in the morning. And I'll mask everything up, get everything in primer, and everything should look pretty nice. I'll let everything set up on this, and then I'll be able to pull these fenders off and then start doing all of the edges and whatnot. I might even hold off and just pull off the fenders in the morning and then prime everything once I have all the edges and everything all sanded out, which makes, you know, it makes more sense now that I'm saying it. So I'm tired. There you go. There's an instance right there. So I'm going to go ahead and end this video here. Super tired. But I appreciate you guys sticking by and watching this upload. I understand it's probably going to be a pretty long upload, and I try and edit out as much as I can generally. So if you made it this far, thank you. I appreciate you as a viewer, as a subscriber. And if you're not a subscriber, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell so you get the notifications every time I make an upload on the channel. And I'm going to try and make more uploads more often than none because I've got a lot more help now. So this is awesome. With that said, I'm Bill Schneider. This is Roma Garage. Work on only cars with stars. Subaru only. Have a good day, guys.